Hi dear students, welcome to Department of Chemistry, KTHM College, Nasik. So student, in our previous lecture, we started the discussion about the estimation of some important water quality parameter. We studied the measurement of pH, measurement of chemical oxygen demand, measurement of dissolved oxygen. Now in continuation of our previous discussion, in this session, we are going to discuss about the determination of total organic carbon, second thing, hardness of the water, and finally, we will talk about the determination of free chlorine in the water sample. So, we will start with the first parameter, that is the determination of total organic carbon. Total organic carbon. In short, we call it as a TOC. Dissolved carbon in a water sample demands the oxygen demand. It means that it consumes the dissolved oxygen present in the water sample. In fact, the dissolved carbon is present in the form of toxic substances. Means it is present in the form of organic molecules. And these organic molecules are toxic one. In short, we call it as a organic content present in the water sample. Actually, the determination of total organic carbons is considered as a very best method for the determination of presence of total organic content in the sample. The determination of a total dissolved carbon means a total organic carbon is done by total oxidation of organic component into the corresponding carbon dioxide. Obviously, once the organic components means the total organic carbon present in the water sample is converted into the carbon dioxide, and obviously by measuring the amount of carbon dioxide evolved, we can find out the percentage of a carbon atom present in the given sample. Now in this case, the oxidation is carried out by using a oxidizing agent K2S2O8. The oxidation of organic carbon is carried out by using oxidizing agent potassium peroxy disulfate means K2S2O8 in presence of free radical, hydroxy free radical. This hydroxy free radical is generated by UV rays. It means it is an total oxidation of organic matter by using a potassium peroxy disulfate in presence of hydroxy free radical. Sometimes phosphoric acid is also added. Sometimes phosphoric acid is also added. The water sample is taken in a chamber. For that purpose, the water sample is taken in chamber containing a UV lamp. For what purpose? To generate the free radicals. UV lamp which emit a radiation of wavelength 184.9 nanometer to generate free radical. Hydroxy free radical will be generated here. Now, the organic content means the carbon content from the water sample in presence of hydroxy free radical undergoes a oxidation by using a potassium peroxide disulfate to give a corresponding carbon dioxide and water. So what will be the chemical relation? Water sample containing organic carbon in presence of hydroxy free radical. Oxidation is carried out by using K2S2O8 and we will get the formation of CO2 and H2O. Now in this case, the liberated carbon dioxide is determined. So after oxidation, the liberated carbon dioxide is measured by using gas chromatography. Or sometimes instead of a gas chromatography, conductivity is also measured. And from the amount of carbon dioxide, we can determine the percentage of a carbon, because we know that 1 mole of carbon dioxide will give 1 mole of carbon. And from this relation, we can determine the amount of total organic carbon present in the given water sample. So in this way, the total organic carbon is measured. It is a very simple one. We are going to just oxidize the organic carbon, means the total organic content, into the corresponding carbon dioxide, and this liberated carbon dioxide is then measured either by gas chromatography or by conductivity, and from the amount of carbon dioxide we can determine the percentage of a carbon present in the given water sample. So you just note all these data so that we will proceed to next parameter. Now the second parameter is hardness of water. Total hardness we call it. Total hardness means Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus ion present in the water sample. In fact, the presence of Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus ion in the water is the indication of hardness of water. In fact, the hardness or the presence of a calcium 2 plus and magnesium 2 plus ion is not a pollution parameter, but it is an water quality parameter. Generally, it is expressed as a calcium carbonate. It is expressed as calcium carbonate. The analysis of a Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus ion in the water sample is carried out by complexometric titration. The estimation of a Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus is carried out by complexometric titration. Complexometric titration. For that purpose, EDTA is used. Using EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, EDTA is used. In fact, EDTA is one of the ligand. It forms a chelate complex with the calcium and magnesium. We studied the chelate formation of EDTA with calcium and magnesium in inorganic chemistry. And for this titration, Erythrome black tea, EBT, is used as an indicator. The Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus form a complexes with EDTA. Very first, Ca2 plus form a complex. As a part of a representation, we will represent EDTA as a Na2H2Y. Na2H2Y. In fact, in this case, the calcium will react first to form a calcium EDTA complex. The chemical equation will be in this way: Ca2 plus ion plus, this is nothing but the H2Y 2 minus, because if we represent the EDTA in this way, disodium salt of EDTA, so the 2Na plus will be removed, so that the rest part will have a 2 minus charge, and we will get the formation of the H2 is replaced by Ca2 plus. It means Cay 2 minus plus twice H plus. After that, the Mg2 plus ion also form a complex with EDTA ion. It can be represented chemically in this way: Mg2 plus plus H2Y2 minus, we will get Mgy2 minus plus twice H plus. This is our more stable complex, and this is our less stable complex. This is less stable complex. Now obviously during the complexometric titration, we are adding a EDTA into the water sample. Once the EDTA is dropped down into the solution, it forms a complex with calcium first and then with the magnesium. But once the total number of Ca2 plus ion and Mg2 plus ion from the solution is finished, the excess of EDTA added will obviously interact with the indicator, that is the Erichrome black tea indicator. It means that at the end what happened? The EDTA combines with Erichrome black tea indicator and the color will change to blue. It means that blue colored complex is formed. So what will be the end point of this titration? In this case, the wine red color changes to blue. The formation of a blue colored complex indicate that the Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus ion has been completely titrated and excess EDTA now start to interact with the EBT indicator, and so it will be the end point of a titration. Got it? So we can calculate the Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus by using a relation. What will be the relation for that? A relation. Suppose 1 ml 0.01 molar EDTA is taken. It gives 1.0 milligram of calcium carbonate. So in this way, we can calculate for the calcium also. It means that 1 ml 0.01 molar EDTA will correspond to 0.4008 milligram of calcium. In this way, we will give total Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus present in water sample. So student, it was an account about the total hardness. Important thing is that the Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus is estimated by complexometric titration using EDTA and Erichrome black tea indicator. The added EDTA first react with the calcium 2 plus ion to form a complex which is more stable, and after that Mg2 plus ion react with EDTA to form a relatively less stable complex. Once the total Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus ion interact, the excess of added EDTA will react with EBT indicator to form a blue color. It means the initial wine red color changes to blue. So the end point is wine red to blue. And from this titration, by using this equation, we can calculate the total Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus present in the water sample. So you just note all these data. We will proceed to next parameter. Now the next parameter is free chlorine. We call it as a residual chlorine present in the water sample. Free chlorine. Estimation of residual chlorine or free chlorine present in the water sample. So student, the free chlorine present in water in the form of a Cl2, it is present in a hypochlorous acid, chlorous acid, etc. Means the free chlorine is present in the form of Cl2, then HOCl, we call it as a hypochlorous acid. The next one is a HClO2, we call it as a chlorous acid. Again, the free chlorine is determined by titrimetric method, and for that purpose the water sample is titrated with N diethyl phenylenediamine diamine. The water sample is treated with NN diethyl phenylenediamine, which acts as an indicator. This free chlorine reacts with the indicator to form a red colored complex. The free chlorine react with indicator to form a red colored complex, and this red colored solution is then titrated with more salt. This solution is then titrated with more salt. More salt means ferrous ammonium sulfate, FeSO4, NH4, and 6H2O. When a red color disappear. If you think about the procedure for that, it's a very simple procedure. We have to just react the water sample with the indicator NN diethyl phenylenediamine. We will get a red colored solution. This red colored solution is then titrated with the more salt. At the end point, the red color will disappear. So if you think about the procedure, for that purpose, take a 100 ml water sample. In this water sample, add (5 ml) indicator. Which indicator? NN diethyl phenylenediamine indicator. A red colored solution will be obtained and titrate with the more salt. Titrate with more salt. What will be the end point? Red to colorless. And from this, by using a one relation, we can estimate the chlorine. What will be the relation for that? A 1 ml of ferrous ammonium sulfate contain 0.1 milligram free chlorine. FAC means ferrous ammonium sulfate, that is the mole salt. So 1 ml of 0.002 molar ferrous ammonium sulfate will contain 0.1 milligram of free chlorine. And by using this relation, we can estimate the free chlorine present in the water sample. So it was an account about the first method, titrimetric method. By titrating with more salt, ferrous ammonium sulfate, we can estimate the free chlorine. Alternatively, the free chlorine can be determined by iodometric method also. Alternatively, the free chlorine can be estimated by iodometric method. The procedure is in this way. Take a 500 ml water sample. Into that, add a acetic acid approximately 5 ml. The acetic acid is added to maintain the pH between 3 to 4. After that, we have to add a 1 gram of potassium iodide, solid, and then iodine will be liberated. The liberated iodine is then titrated with the liberated iodine is measured by titrating with for that purpose we should use a Na2H2O3 0.025 normal Na2H2O3. So what will be the relation for that? How we will calculate it? The relation is in this way. I will write over here relation 1 ml of 0.025 normal Na2H2O3 corresponds to 0.4 milligram of iodine. So this is a relation for iodometric titration. So in the first method, the free chlorine is estimated by titrating the red colored complex of chlorine with NN-diethyl phenylenediamine diamine with the more salt. The end point will be the red to colorless, and the free chlorine is estimated by using a relation 1 ml 0.02 molar FAS corresponds to 0.1 milligram of free chlorine. Alternatively, chlorine can be determined by iodometric titration. For that purpose, 500 water sample is taken. Then the pH is maintained by adding acetic acid. Then potassium iodide is added. Iodine will liberate, and that liberated iodine is measured by titrating with 0.025 normal Na2H2O3. The relation is that 1 ml of 0.025 normal Na2H2O3 corresponds to 0.4 milligram of Cl2. So you just note this data. Okay, so student, in this lecture we studied the three important water quality parameter. One is nothing but the TOC, total organic carbon. Second one was the hardness, and third is a free chlorine. We call it as a residual chlorine. So in this lecture we will stop here. In our next lecture we will start the next chapter. Thank you.